everyone, and welcome to another episode of Whale FM. Here we have the awesome episode that we are doing with Makersplace and Whale, talking about the really exciting new drop, 2PACALYPSE92, 17 shots, which is the Dear Mama drop. And that's really exciting. We at here at Whale are a platform for connecting the hottest movers and shakers in the metaverse and the NFT ecosystem today. And as many of you know, I'm Rude Muse. I am joined today by the amazing Lawrence Dotson, or otherwise known as Loopy D, who is the phenomenal photographer bringing us never before seen shots of Tupac from back in the early 90s, which is amazing. And we know Loopy D has actually joined us here on Maker's Place X Whale before, back in December. So it's been 4 months since we last saw Loopy D. And he, was a photographer back in the early 90s and actually had worked to become the managing editor at Chronic Magazine, which is one of the most well-known and successful hip-hop indie zines on the West Coast. So very exciting background, but more than that, very exciting bits of history that he is bringing to us, and still making history today, as these shots are, as I understand, doing some extra work in addition to just becoming NFTs. So thank you so much, Loopy, for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Candy. It's wonderful. It's getting hot out here. Nice spring day. But yeah, doing all right.
Good, good. And I would say the weather, I'm sure, has changed since the last time you were here. And we are on drop number 3 of the 2PACALYPSE92 series. So how has that been going for you?
Well, it's been going quite well. I'm pretty pleased, like a lot of the success with the sales and everything. It's been great working with Maker's Place and just having so many different variations in the three drops that I've had. It's been a learning experience. Um, just in terms of how NFTs can be shared and with more people. So I'm really excited about it. It's been a great experience.
Awesome. And for the people who were not here the last time, let's give them a little bit of your background. I know I did an overview, but how is it that you ended up becoming a photographer and being involved in this scene, and now being able to, at this point, 30 years later, bring this to the world?
Well, I guess I've always been a photographer. I was always a kid, would have the cameras at school and taking pictures of friends and all that. And I just brought those skills to hip hop journalism experience when I joined with Chronic in '93. Um, Prior to that, I had worked for another magazine called No Sellout, and I was working for that magazine when I met Tupac um, in Hollywood. I just happened to be, in Hollywood, walking down the street selling magazines, and boom, there he was. It's like, oh, okay, buy a magazine. He came and bought a magazine from me, and he invited me to a show that was going on that night. And I took my camera and came up with these pictures.
That is amazing. Like, what are the odds of like just walking down the street inside Tupac and sold him a magazine and get to go to the show and get these photos? Like, that is an amazing story.
Yeah, I mean, Tupac wasn't Tupac then. I mean, it's early '90s. The show that he invited me to was the premiere party for his first album for the Tupacalypse Now.
Mm.
So, a lot of people had heard of him. They've seen the videos, but it wasn't surprising to see. Well, it was a surprise actually to see him in Hollywood just cruising about by himself. Didn't have a big crew around him, didn't have a lot of people, didn't have a big posse. It was just him. So, back in the days, it was just like, people, it's, hip hop was just, kind of breaking out. So, the hip hop community was very small. And, it's just like, it's kind of hit me like, wow, it's Tupac. He bought a magazine from me. You want to go to the show and take some pictures for him, So that was my initial impetus to like take the pictures. It wasn't really like publish them or sell them to a magazine or anything. I was like, let me pay him back for reaching out to me and buying a magazine and supporting me. So I just want to support him right back by taking those pictures.
Wow, and that is I love that because that ties in really nicely with I think the space we're in now where we're seeing, people are, buying art, supporting artists, and then, they're turning right back around and going, all right, well, you've supported me, so how do I, contribute to my fans or engage with the fans? And that's something that I know you have done, in a sense of, I'm creating in my case, created an NFT, but also had these physical, digital drop, I guess is how they were phrasing it, so I was able to participate and like have a physical piece of history. That's something that, is a really interesting way to engage with your community.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know. I was kind of split over doing that.
Mhm.
It's like, do I hold on to these negatives, or do I give somebody who really appreciates the art form something physical to have, not just a digital file, but a physical piece of the history. So I decided to go ahead and gift those to the people who supported and bought the NFT.
And those are and so that's what you've been doing the last couple of months, right? When we talked in December, you were doing the drops that, were coming with these physical aspects. And then, you had to go through the process of mailing those out. But I've seen you in Twitter spaces since then, like talking about this process and really connecting with the fans, both of your photography and also secondarily, the fans of POC, and being able to like have these conversations and relay your experiences to people who, would have loved to be in your shoes during that time.
Yeah, no doubt. People just really surprised that I came with these NFTs and these pictures, in general. Um, the first time I like introduced them online in the Web3 space was in 2021. I did an open sea drop, and that's at the height of that was at the height of like the NFT, craze. Like a lot
That
of,
big bull run, yeah.
oh yeah, you know, and so I was like, okay, I did everything on my own. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, hey, I just want to put these out there. I want people to, see them. I want somebody to own them, So I put them out there, and I was like asking like 10 ETH,
Mhm.
for each was like, a fortune. It's a fortune now, but back in 2021, it was,
Yeah, that was prices are wild then for sure.
yes, for sure. But in doing so, um, it went viral. The drop went viral. I mean, people all over the world like heard about it. Rolling Stone, they they opened up with they're the first ones to put the story out there.
Mhm.
Also, Fortune magazine did a piece on me, or I actually wrote a piece for Fortune magazine just in my involvement in the Web3 space. And was a Cointelegraph. They put me in the top 5 list of NFT stories or cryptocurrency stories for 2021. I think I was right behind Elon Musk. So, that notoriety was kind of special. It was kind of like, okay, I guess I made a mark or I made a splash somewhere. But
Mhm.
really, my whole intent was just, to show appreciation for Tupac and then really put a value on it that I felt, they deserved. These, very rare pictures of Tupac. I've seen so many photos and magazines and on T-shirts and posters and everything, but never before have. There are not many pictures of him performing live, that I
Mhm.
know of. These are from his first show as a signed artist, in Los Angeles. So, you know, that makes him quite unique, very rare. Most of the pictures you see are just like, photo sessions that he did with a photographer. And, he got paid for his time. And, I'm sure the photographer got paid for their time. But like I said, this is just, me doing one for the homie, who did one for me.
Right. that story, being able to share that story and this piece of history and nostalgia with, a wider community, because that's kind of the magic of the NFT space, is that, you can take your stories that normally you tell that, like, the people that are, nearby you, or, you had shared a story with us previously about telling these stories when you were teaching, to the students, and kind of showing them the pictures and, like, engaging in that way. But now you can do that on such a wider level. So that is, I think, really exciting. And I guess I don't know how it is for you doing it, but it seems like it would be really exciting being able to share
No, it
that.
is. I mean, just seeing people's reactions, upon seeing the photos, that's really amazing to me. 'Cause it just shows, how relevant he still is, in this time and space. Um, you know, he's, he's probably the most recognized rapper in history.
Hmm.
I wouldn't put it past it. Like he would, he's the one. People have written books about him. There's a Tupac encyclopedia that's been written about him. I just saw that today for the first time.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then tonight, um, Hulu and FX, they're premiering the Tupac and Afeni story.
Ooh, so
So
tell us about that, because that's something that I think is really exciting and timely that we're here talking about it today.
yeah, so yeah, when that drop went down in 2021, like I said, it went worldwide, and probably a few months later, I got a call from the producers of the documentary, and like, hey, we saw your pictures online, and Mr. Hughes be interested in like using some of your photographs, in the documentary. And I was like, oh wow, okay, cool. So we went back and forth negotiating, fair price and everything for it. So um, I sent them the collection and allowed them to choose which photos they want to use, and they ended up, choosing four. So four of the photos are featured in this documentary that's going to be premiering tonight. I think it's episodes 1 and 2. So I believe I have photos in both episodes. I've yet seen any footage, and, how they're going to be used, but I'm just excited that they're in the documentary.
Right. That is super exciting. And so I love the timing that that's coming out tonight. And today, because we've been talking about this, you had actually started the raffle. So let's talk about that, because I got an email today. So here we have, this documentary series dropping with your photos in it. And I get this email that's like, hey, there's a raffle to own a piece of hip hop history, uh, with this link, which ends on April 24th. So that is Monday, which is when your drop is happening, right?
Correct.
So let's talk about that, because that timing, like, it was that can't be coincidental, right?
Well, yeah, like I said, I had about a couple of years to mull over everything, and I felt that doing a raffle would just bring more exposure, to the
Hmm.
collection. And you know, my intent initially was to sell, have a whole collection, maybe go to one owner, but piecing them out is not bad either. And then I thought, well, a lot of people want to have this and they really can't afford like to buy one of the one of ones.
Hmm.
So having a raffle and having an open edition would be fair, and like people can on all levels can like engage and get involved in the NFT digital or NFT space. So yes, it's been going pretty well. I have over 100 entries so far, and it just started this morning at about 9 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 129. So it's actually gone up 10 since I last looked at it, too,
Okay.
about an hour ago. So you're at 129, which is exciting. And there's 3 days and 16 hours left for people to enter the raffle. And do we know the details of the raffle? Is it just anybody can enter? Do they need to be following you? They should be following you, even if they're not.
Well, yeah, they should be following me on Makersplace, so you'd have to
Yeah, let me
start an
put a link
account on
there.
Makersplace.
Okay.
So you got to have a wallet, and sign into Makerspace and become a member. And then once you do that, you just go to my page, LOUPYD, And
which is here.
yep.
And you would follow. I am following, so I've got this. But other people need to click this button and look just like this.
Yes, follow.
Setting the example. And then you'll see all of these amazing creations in the gallery, which is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 3 drops, so it's like with each drop, I dropped a few at a time, 5 or 6 at a time, and so it's grown. The site has grown, got more followers over the past 4 months, like I said, since we've spoken.
Mm-hmm.
And once this drop is over, then all 17 shots will be on display on the page.
Wow. And how fun is that? Looking at this, like this whole, like the scene is growing and you're getting more of a view of the experience, which was fun because one of the things that you had shared last time was that there was actually a video you saw that had your camera flash in it. So that was, you're like,
Mm.
I'm like in the history in multiple ways. And here we have it just unfolding in front of us, like watching. So that's exciting, and being able to see the ones that are coming up. Let's see, they're on this one, I believe, because this has the background about the drop. And then we have the raffle. So 2 winners are going to receive a limited edition of this particular piece.
Yeah, that's the only profile. I mean, not profile, but what do you call it? Portrait shot.
Mhm.
He's looking at the camera.
He's like straight at the camera, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember this one. I think I held the camera like straight up in the air and like put it in
Mhm.
space, like bam. I got him right there. A lot of the other photos, I was all over the audience. It wasn't a big crowded space, so I was able to get a lot of angles um, from different parts of the auditorium, and I tried to get as many of him, shots of him, alone as I could.
Right.
But I did get like a good variety,
You
and a lot of
did.
shots, yeah, a lot of shots. A lot of the details I hadn't even noticed until after I actually had them digitally scanned.
Mhm.
So I saw some surprises, and it was at that time I decided to like title the photos. I didn't do any top
Yes.
form. I just kind of like had random photos. I was like, look at this one, and I was like, okay, this is all eyes on me. He's looking at me.
Mhm.
Um, there's some of the other photos. If you look at them, they kind of like speak for themselves. Like this one, stop.
Yeah.
Peace stop. You got the peace sign. You got the stop sign. So kind of went with that. Down by Law. That's one of the members from the Outlaws that's performing with him on stage
Okay.
in that photo.
Wow.
Um,
And
yeah,
then,
so there's a lot of variety in the pictures, and they kind of speak for themselves. And I also give descriptions of each photo when you click on them in the on the site.
sure. So if we click on this one as an example, which goes live here in 2 days and 16 hours. So set your countdowns if you're looking at this. But here's, as you mentioned, the description. So,
Yeah, it's too small for me to read it, not read it out loud, but
yeah.
you can see it for yourself
So
when you go to the page.
you can definitely see that because it's got featured in this photo are 2 members from the group Outlaws. And so that's fun that you've even got their like their actual names and then their stage names or group names. What is the appropriate term here?
Yeah, stage names.
Okay. It's like I don't know if I'm making that up, but
Mhm.
that's really fun too because for people who maybe didn't have that context, if they're newer fans, for example, you're given a bit of that history too. Then we've got
Yeah, yeah.
a couple other pieces here too. So there's 4 it looks like that are, these one of one editions.
Yeah, I
Uh,
believe those the one of ones. I believe 2 of them are going to be in the documentary tonight.
okay,
Um, Suck These Nuts is one,
that's
and
this one.
that one right there.
How
And what's
fun.
the other one? Oh, yeah, the Peace Stop is also in the documentary.
Okay, this one here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good one. Like the hand gestures are really good, and his facial expression too. Like
Right.
that
You know,
is
I
there's
mean,
a
it's
whole
a
story there.
yeah, it's a full body shot. You know, he's in his full outfit. He has the wired mic in his hand. You know, it's really just iconic. Very, you know, very vintage, as one would say.
Yes. Yeah, so even seeing the setup, because as you've explained this, you said an auditorium. Is that how it was set up?
Well, it was a glam slam, so he
Okay,
was on the stage.
it was
Um,
on stage.
yeah, glam slam was Prince's old club in downtown Los Angeles. He had two. He had one in Minneapolis, the original, and
Okay.
then he opened one up in Los Angeles, I think, in '91. And that just became like the hotspot for all the hip hop artists to come through and perform in Los Angeles during that time.
That's fun too. Does that still exist, or is that a relic of history at this point?
Yeah, it's a relic right now. The building still stands.
So there's
However,
hope.
hey, what I'd like to do is get a one of these pictures, a portrait painted on the wall.
Mhm.
That's outside of that. So that's something I think something I'll be working on or working towards.
That would be good. That would be a great use of old venues to be able to put, these portraits or, different depictions of things that happened there on and around. Maybe revive it.
Hmm, that would be.
How
Hmm.
fun. And I like this description too, because you're like, it's a shot from the edge of the stage. I didn't notice how up close and personal I got with this shot until it was developed. So like that's a fun, cheeky little surprise.
Yeah, definitely. So I was like, it wasn't intentional. It was like, hey, that's just where I happen to be. And, kind of like, says the attitude.
Yes. How fun. So we have these ones, and then we have also, this is an interesting one too. There's limited editions that are happening, which, as you mentioned, because you were trying to make sure that when you were setting up these drops, these are things that are going to be accessible to various, types of collectors or fans, and not, simply if you have, all the dollars, you can get all the things, because like that feels bad for a lot of people. So making things more accessible to the fan base is really exciting, and that's what you're doing with limited editions. Um, so if I understand right.
Yeah, correct. I'd have limited editions. And then with the limited edition photos, there's be a print to go along with the limited edition ones.
Ooh, fun.
So not only you get the NFT, but you get a print um, as well.
Mhm.
So that's part of the digital world.
That's exciting. So this one, for example, in the crowd, it looks like there's having this scene is really, I like this because a lot of times when I go to shows, like getting the action from the crowd in with the performer gives you a sense of like how into it, or sometimes not, the crowd was. And it seems like the fans really, I mean, they have fans here, people who are excited like, with it. And that is exciting. That shows the magic of the moment.
Yeah, I mean everybody's looking towards the stage and got their hands up.
Mhm.
So that's a good indication that he was getting down.
Yes, those are super exciting for sure.
Let's see, what's the other one? I think it's is there another picture?
There is another picture. So there is this one.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, so that's another kind of crowd shot. And then you notice in the lower right hand corner, someone's holding up a poster, "2PACALYPSE Now."
Mhm.
So that kind of like makes a statement as to where and when this show was happening. And once again, you got the crowd participation and support. So, and this one you can see his face clearer than in the other crowd shot.
Yeah, this is a good one too. And the fact that somebody like brought the sign or the printout. That is really exciting because not only does it identify, the time frame that you're there, but it identifies the fact that like there were fans. They wasn't just people showed up and said, "Hey, I'm gonna check this out for the night," but like they knew what they were showing up to.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a very small crowd and kind of I would say exclusive because people got invitations to be at the show. So it was mostly a lot of industry people. There were some celebrities there. One that I know in particular, Kevin Young, who's the world record holder for the 400-meter hurdles
Wow.
for years, up until I think last year he held the record. But I remember speaking with him, meeting him somewhere, and he talked about, yeah, I was there, I was at that show. I was like, what, really? And he remembered, I showed the photos to him, and he was like, yeah, I was there. I was like, wow. So um, that was pretty amazing.
That is amazing. Oh my goodness. That's that's so fun. And so I'm sure that as you've been showing these photos, that's probably not the only experience that has happened, whether or not people have, explicitly shared that with you. It is a matter of bringing back old memories for people who maybe, at this point it's been a while, so you're like, like I remember it, but I being able to see it again, that's amazing.
Yeah, like it really amazed me when I saw the video, and it's crazy because the video came out just maybe a few weeks before I first exposed the pictures in person. I did a live show with the photos, so I kind of advertised online, and then all of a sudden, boom! I look on YouTube, and there's the video of Tupac at Glam Slam.
Mhm.
So I just found out, I was like, let me see if it's on YouTube. I kind of Googled, Tupac Glam Slam, and there it popped up. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. So I watched it, and I watched it over and over and over again. Then I was watching it one time, I saw a flash go off in the audience, and I was like, wait a minute, that had to be me.
Right.
That had to be me. So I've been trying to like, look at which picture that was and where the flash happened. I would like to find out. And, probably like, I don't know, do something where you see the flash and then boom, there's the picture.
Right.
You
Have
know,
that overlay. That would be amazing.
yeah.
Did you, as you're watching the video, did you see yourself at all in it? Because I know you said you were kind of bopping around throughout the place to get different angles and such.
Yeah, no, I couldn't see myself at all. I mean, all the light was on the stage. They didn't have
Mhm.
the audience lit. So
You're not like, oh, that was the back of my head.
no, I know, couldn't see any traces of me.
Gotcha. So how amazing though, because then you've got these, multiple angles where you can compare the photos that you took and, those stills to the live action, and people can, kind of live it multi-dimensionally of like, the still
Well,
and
yeah.
the live and the, oh my goodness.
So I mean, yeah, I mean that's kind of like where I want to go, like be more creative with the photos in terms of possibly doing another edition of NFTs. Doing something with some motion graphics, possibly doing like an AI version that incorporates the video and the photos.
Mhm.
A lot of ideas have been coming up with it. Um, so I've been talking to other artists and coming up with ideas, and some a lot of them sound pretty good. So just depending on where the flow goes, is where I go for the next thing, and you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Perfect. And so I guess the next question that I have, which is, slightly off topic perhaps, but I know that you were doing a lot of, photography and doing with these, zines in the early 90s. And are there other shows that you have that you would be interested or consider, bringing out into the public as well? Is that something that, now that you've started here with this set, you're like, oh, like there could be other things in the archives?
Well, back then, I was mostly a journalist,
Okay.
so I did a lot of writing, and I didn't take pictures at a lot of the shows. I do have a lot of behind the scenes pictures from a lot of the interviews I did back then. So, for example, um, I was at the video shoot for Wu-Tang's Triumph video, which is from their second LP, the double LP.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of behind the scenes photos from that. And that's something I'm considering putting out there. I have some interviews that I did with the Cash Money Click from back in the day, Birdman, Lil Wayne. Um, let's see. I got a lot of random photos of different artists. Lil Kim, um, Prince Paul. That's like I think of off the top of my head right now. But also, just recently, like in the past, I would say 6 or 7 years, I've been doing some photography at a lot of the festivals.
Ooh,
So, I have pictures of let's see, gosh, Ludacris, Megan Thee Stallion, who else? Um, Shaggy, and quite a few others. So,
oh my gosh.
yeah, I do have some things in the archives. You
That
know,
would be fun too, because then you get like classic Loopy D and current Loopy D
right.
photography. That's a fun story too. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just happened to hook up with a crew who does a lot of EDM shows, and they're like, "Hey, come shoot with us." I was like, "Okay." So I'm not
I am
turning it.
here for the adventure.
I'm not turning it down. I'm going to be there with camera in hand. So yeah, there'll be some more.
Perfect.
There'll be some more celebrity photos. Coming up, and just variations on other things and other themes that I photograph. I do a lot of street photography and landscapes. So you're going to see a variety of stuff coming from me in the future.
That's exciting for sure. And that's something that we had talked about the last time you were here actually was, kind of the landscapes and the cityscapes and being, able to capture not just pieces of, personal history in terms of the artist, but, locale history as well. And so that I think would be really interesting to see and look forward to as you explore these options to see what comes next, because what you have is essentially a time capsule of like you said, behind the scenes things, and these bits of history that people could experience through your eyes, which is really great for storytelling and kind of moving the space. So,
Yeah, that's true. I'll tell you, like 2 weeks after I took the Tupac photos, um, the LA riots of 1992 took place. And that was when Rodney King was, the police officer who beat Rodney King were found not guilty. And, it set off one of the largest, civil unrest in America.
mhm.
So I have photos from those times. And over the decades, I've taken pictures in those same locations. So you kind of can see like a before and after of a lot of places in Los Angeles that were burnt down during the riots and how they built it back up and made them, new buildings and new places and um, just the change. You just see the change that has occurred in Los Angeles, from the 90s up to current times in the 21st century here in 2020s, the 2020s.
Mhm. That I think is a really interesting thing to be able to see that progression that, I don't know if it's a healing necessarily, but definitely a change and a, you know, growth in some cases. So there's so much potential here, and something that, every time I talk to you, I feel more inspired. I'm like, what's gonna come next? I don't know, but man, I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but I think like taking historical photos. I mean, if anything, being able to see what happened in the past. I think it's important for people to like see the importance in that, and so future generations can see like, well, what were things like back then? What was the style, what was the fashion, what was going on.
Yes.
Photographs, they capture moments in time, and so these pictures were taken on film, and barely anyone shoots anything on film anymore. So I mean, having film and having negatives, I mean, that's kind of like a kind of a, I would say like a permanent physical thing that you can touch and feel and have, as
Right.
compared to like a digital file, which can be stored on something physical. But having a physical remnant of a time, moment in time, I think that's something special. And I think for collector of any of the one of ones that will be offered in the auction next week,
Mhm.
um, people's going to have like a nice piece of history on their hands. And I think just over time, it's going to like just the value just go higher and higher.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And that's something that one of the audience members had commented on as you're talking about, kind of capturing this, this time capsule of history, that watching or looking at these photos, they said it's kind of craziness, the rawness of the space, because Tupac isn't really wearing anything flashy or trendy. Like it's kind of a timeless, looking at it, like it's not really dated, you know what I mean? Like he could exist now the same as he did then, interestingly.
Yeah, he could. I mean that might have been the clothes he had when I met him earlier that afternoon. He probably didn't even change. He probably like walked off the street and walked on stage just like that.
That is amazing. 'Cause he didn't have to worry about it, right? Like he was like, "I'm gonna bring it," and that's that. Wow,
So
how amazing! Got lots of people sharing in the chat. They're really excited because they also love Tupac, and he's their all-time favorite rapper. So they're really excited to see these pieces of history that you're sharing with us. How fun! So for Monday, because that's when these go live. So the raffle is going until Monday, and people, we have had some people in the chat actually say that they were able to get verified at Makersplace, verify their account, and then they were able to follow you and get in on the raffle. So they're excited about that, and that will end on Monday, and your auctions will take place on Monday, which will come with the same deal of the original negative, and then there will be prints for some of the limited editions.
yes,
So,
and then there's also the open editions.
okay,
Okay, and so with the open editions, that'll be um, an open drop for 24 hours,
here they are.
and I believe those um, those are going for 75 each. So it's a pretty you know low buy-in to have
Perfect.
access to these photos or to these NFTs.
Hmm.
And like I said, any Tupac relic, is going to appreciate in value over time. So, for someone to get, doesn't have anything and wants to get into the game and, wants a piece of history and wants to engage in, NFT photography, this would be a good starting place.
Yeah, and that's really exciting, right? Because you are appealing with this drop to not only people who appreciate NFT photography, or black and white photography, because that's, as they all are, but also, music or hip hop or rap, like memorabilia. Like you've got multiple categories that you're checking here, which is like super cool because, it's for a lot of people, a little bit of something that it will be exciting, even if maybe you didn't know about NFTs before, but you really like Tupac, so you're gonna check it out because, like, look at these pictures that people haven't seen before.
Yeah, I mean, the last drop I had, people buy two or three, simply because it was Tupac.
Right,
I mean, they,
as one does.
yeah, right. They, it's like, let me get a few of these and hold on to them. So, I'm glad that people, are getting, like everyone's getting a bit of taste of what they want. Like you said, NFT photography or black and white photography, Tupac fans, hip hop fans, fans of the '90s, um, you name it. Like you said, there's a lot of categories I'm hitting on. With these photographs, I didn't think about it in those terms, but you're absolutely right. So, if you got hip hop friends, hip hop fans, let them know about the drop. Let them know to join Makersplace
Yes.
and join and get into the raffle. You can get something for free. You never know.
It's true. And I will say that being a person who had bought one of these from you during one of the earlier drops, like I was really excited with how the process works. So I'm going to nerd out about it for a little bit because I had purchased one of these NFTs, which comes with the physical negative. And so it was really easy to go into my account and click on the unlock button. And then it's like, okay, where do you want us to send this? And I was like, okay, let me give you my address and put it in. And then, like, it just got taken care of. It was not a complicated process by any means. And for somebody who had never done it before, like, I was not confused or concerned about the process. It was just like really easy. I was like, okay, perfect. Like, we're going to ship it to you. Here's the update for shipping. Like, ta-da! And then it arrived, and then it was here. And that's really cool. And now it's on my desk, which is exciting.
And you got a little personal note with it too.
Yes, and I get it out with it too, which is exciting. So here it is on my desk. I have to hold it up against something, right? Because otherwise it's like see through, being a negative. But it
Right.
hangs out on my desk until I move because I'm moving. So then I'll give it a better spot. But everything is getting packed up currently. So I'm trying to keep it safe.
Fantastic. So yeah, I mean, you get a personal note from the artist, from the photographer
Yes.
himself. When you do buy one of these one of ones. So
Yes. And that came like it was really, really cool, like how it was packaged. Importantly though, and this is something that I'm sure people will see, when you get the little thing, you have to peel off the protective cover so that way you can see through it. So
yes, I wanted to be fresh in unscathed, print
yes.
free, fingerprint free.
Which
So
is such a tricky thing to do because, like, with acrylic, once you touch it, you're like, oh, the prints are there. And they're
right,
easy to clean. But yeah, that's a thing that, as you're collecting physical stuff, you're like, how do I maintain it? Which is, I think, one of the maybe uncelebrated values of NFTs. I don't get fingerprints on it. I don't have to worry about, am I keeping it safe? I mean, as long as my wallet's safe, my NFTs are safe. So that's really cool.
right. This is something you gotta like, maybe insure or you know,
Mhm.
anything can happen to a physical piece. So that's something you really want to hold on to, and this is like a precious jewel.
Yes. Be very careful with it when I pack to move. And be very excited though, because other people are going to get these and then they can join the club of like having a cool thing that now I have something that other people have. And that's really neat. Like, because how many there's, 17 shots in this collection. And so of that, at most 17 of these negatives that other people are going to have. And
Well,
that,
all 17 shots are not attached to the negatives.
okay.
Um, just in particular, the one of ones that were offered on the scene. So the open editions, there's no negative that comes along with it. So
Okay.
I had to keep a few.
Yes, for sure. Well, that's why I said at most 17 because I didn't do the math ahead of time. But
Right.
yeah, there definitely are less, less of these things in the world than people who are excited about these. So that's a pretty interesting thing to go like, I have this cool thing. And then if you're doing your like two truths and a lie when you meet somebody new and you're like, oh, like, let me tell you a secret about myself. I have a negative of Tupac from the early 90s. People will be like, what?
I'm like, yeah,
Because
right. And then you
I'm going to
flash.
use this. But that's a cool thing. Like being able to have these types of, nostalgia and collectibles are, really amazing. And I think it's awesome that you were able to bring this to the community, through Maker's Place and share this with the world because I mean, without you, like people wouldn't have seen these and that is wild to think about.
It is, like I said, these photos were just sitting around. The negatives were just sitting in the drawer. I'd had some prints made. I think I told you the story before about how I was a substitute teacher, and I had prints of these photos, and I had a photo album. So when I would go to substitute, at the school, and I tell all the kids, okay, everybody do your work. Everyone who finished their work, I'm going to show you pictures of Tupac. They're like, oh, you don't have pictures of Tupac. You don't know Tupac. I take out the photo album, I just flash the pictures like that, and the kids are like, wow, your jaws are dropped.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, I'm the cool sub. It's like school. Kids are like, oh, Mr. Dawson, are you going to come? Sub for us today. You coming? You coming tomorrow? You going to be here? So I was like, everybody wanted to come to my class. Kids would ditch to come to my class just to see Tupac pictures. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, like I said, Tupac had been a big influence for people for decades. For good reason too. I mean, he was such a dynamic performer. Um, he really cared about people. He wasn't just this gangster rapper that everybody makes him out to be, like like he was so bad. Thug life. I mean, he had meaning in everything that he said and did. He did everything with intention.
Hmm.
And I think that's what people really appreciate, is that he really stood for what he rapped about. And even though it came out in a negative way, it was just to shine a light on the conditions, people growing up, in the ghetto, or people growing up, um, with less than, what I mean? It's like people could really relate to what he was saying, and he stood up for the underdogs. And his essence and his presence, was really a remarkable time in such a short period of life. So um, that's why I think people can appreciate him and love him so much still to this day.
Yeah. That is definitely a testament to, his skill and him as a person, that he's been able to, withstand this test of time and still resonate with so many people,
Yeah,
like touching lives, far into the future, I'm sure, which is amazing.
yeah. Like I said, it's amazing how people transcended, his outward appearance or his outward persona, and could really tap into his real essence. And I
Mhm.
think the documentary tonight will delve more into that and show him more of his human side, um, what he learned from his mother, the values that he was instilling and putting out in his music.
Mhm.
When he had a chance to.
That'll be definitely exciting for people to see as, the documentary comes out, and as they're now knowing to look for your photos. And so they can reference your Maker's Place page, which I've shared in the Discord, but let me pop it in there again in the chat to make sure that people know where to look to see these and follow along, as the documentary happens and as the weekend rolls out and get closer to drop day for you. That's exciting. So, oh my goodness. And so, what time is this? Do we know? I haven't done the math. 16 hours. So, afternoon, I think.
Let me see. I think it's noon New York time, East Coast time.
Perfect. That's I say. My math is slow today. I'd like to say today it's really every day I'm slow at math. But yeah, so on Monday, in the early afternoon or noon, Eastern time, as I am here, uh, we'll be able to start bidding on these, and so that's exciting. And so there's a reserve price that people can start at, and then um, potentially a bid mechanic, if I recall. So they won't
Yep.
be able to initially do a buyout. You place your offer, and then it has to stand. Otherwise, people have the opportunity to continue bidding.
Yeah. Once the reserve price is met, then the auction is on. So the highest bidder wins the piece.
Perfect. So that'll be exciting for everybody to be able to keep track of on Monday and keep an eye out. Looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like who really wants these photos, who really wants these NFTs, who really wants these negatives, who wants a piece of history.
Yes. Yes, and so we've got the raffle happening, which is the limited edition. We've got, additional limited editions as well as open editions. So you have many options for this particular drop and, to get a piece of history here in NFT form. So that's exciting. I know that we are at the end of our hour, but is there anything that I haven't asked or we haven't covered that you like definitely need to share with the people?
No, I think we kind of got, we think covered everything. Got some of the old news, got some of the good news, and the new news.
Yes, we love the news.
So yeah, I mean, just like I said, this is the last one. This is the last chance to grab one of these for the 2Pacalypse 92 17 shots collection. Like I said, I have some other collaborations and things I'm going to be doing. So just keep in touch. Follow the Makerspace page. Um, I'm sure you'll be hearing from me again.
Perfect. So we have the Makersplace page here that I'll share in the chat. And also make sure to follow Loopy on Twitter. Here we go, which also has his link tree. So super conveniently, you can find all of the links in one place from the Twitter.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
yes. So Linktree has lots of fun things. So it's got, different links to the collection. Also, I like because you have a lot of social engagement and support on your page. So not only are you promoting your own things, but you're promoting a better world as well. So on the link tree.
Yep, that's all of me.
Yes. Very good. Very good. So, all right. Well, we will close out the stream then for today. As always, thank you to Makerspace for bringing such awesome new art to the world, through NFTs, and to you, LoopyD, for joining us and bringing these amazing photos to Makerspace, because what an amazing connection that is. And to our community for joining us and following along and sharing in the hype that is the Tupacalypse 17 Shots collection.
Well, I appreciate being invited back and allowing me to share all this with you. Thanks for the opportunity, and for me and for the audience.
Yes, we are always glad to have you here and support you as you continue on this NFT journey and bringing us more exciting, history and hip hop and everything it is you have to share. We will celebrate and support you as you do that. So, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We will see you all again soon, I'm sure. And we will close out for tonight. Stay safe out there and hang out in the whale Discord in the meantime for any news and exciting things as we count down until Monday.
All right, thanks a lot.